Guys, I'm getting ready to make some French onion soup. I had some a while back, and I kind of came up with an idea in my own head that I want to do. And so I'm going to actually start with buttercup squash. You've probably seen buttercup squash in the store. Normally, French onion soup is just the broth, and of course then you have your onions inside and your seasoning and stuff, but I'm gonna do a little different. I kind of want a thicker sauce, so I'm gonna use, of course, like I said, I'm gonna use the buttercup squash first. I'm gonna start with that. And if you ever seen buttercup squash in the store but you just bypass it because you really don't know how to fix it, well, I'm gonna show you a real quick way. I see a lot of people trying to take a knife and cut it, but butternut squash is really hard. It's really hard. It's harder than a watermelon, okay? And you can hear it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put it in a pan of shallow water, and I'm going to bake it in the oven whole. And then I'm going to cut it in half. It's just easier to handle that way instead of trying to cut it beforehand. And so that's what I'm going to do. And I have several, as you can see. So I'm just going to do one today in order to fix my French onion soup. And I'm going to show you step by step how I do it. All right, there you have it. I'm going to put the squash. I already have it in water, as you can see. And I'm going to put it in the oven on like 375, 400. Depends on how your oven cooks. I'm going to cook it until this is tender to the touch. And then I'm going to take it out, let it cool, haul the seeds out, and then begin to use it to prepare my dish. All right, I'm going to use as a filler inside of the liquid, along with the onions, I'm going to use cubes of ciabatta bread. All right, so I'm going to cut it in half, and then I'm going to actually cut those into little bitty cubes, and I'm going to put that in the oven. I'm going to bake them until they're hard like croutons. And if you want to, you can put butter on them, seasoning, whatever you want to put on them. I'll probably put some garlic powder, onion powder, and just some vegan butter, or maybe some olive oil, and bake them. And then once the liquid is done, or the broth is done for the onions, then I'm going to actually, put this in there with the onions inside the hot broth, and the hot broth will soften up the bread. All right, so I'll show you what I do step by step. But ciabatta bread, and if you don't have ciabatta bread, then you can use any kind of bread that you like. I found this bread. You can use sourdough bread, whatever it is, whatever bread you prefer. You just make sure you get a bread. All right, these are pretty large sizes of bread. So I'm just going to use a half of one in mine, because I'm also going to use fried onions in mine as well. I'm going to put onions in the soup with the bread, but I'm going to also put the fried onions on top. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and put probably some vegan butter on them, and some parsley, some onion powder, garlic powder, whatever it is, Mrs. Dash, whatever it is you want to season them with. And then I'm going to put them in the oven and let them bake on slow while I'm waiting for my squash to cool. All right, I decided to use parchment paper up under the bottom. So I, of course, put some vegan butter on it, and garlic powder, onion powder, a little bit of Mrs. Dash, and some parsley flakes. And I'm going to bake it in the oven on slow while I'm waiting for my squash to cool. All right, guys, the buttercup squash is done, and so I'm going to show you. You press it, and if there's an indentation, if it indents, see how that indented? That lets you know it's done. Oh yes. So I'm going to let it cool, and then I'm going to come back and cut it open and begin to use it to make my soup. All right, guys, so I finished cooking the squash, and it's done. I actually cut it in half, and it was so easy. And I'm getting ready to hull all these seeds out. All right, so I've hulled all the seeds out, and I put them in a food line bag. I'm getting ready to toss them. But I'm going to now hull the meat out of this. Now, you can eat it just like this. You can put some salt and pepper on it, garlic powder, onion powder, whatever seasonings you want to put, your little vegan butter, and you can just pretty much eat it out of the shell because it's already done. Okay, so you can do that. That's entirely up to you. But I'm going to actually hull it out, and I'm going to make a soup with it. All right, I'm going to add some coconut milk, some vegetable broth, my seasonings, my nutritional yeast, of course, Mrs. Dash's, all the seasonings that I normally use. And I'm going to actually just make a very liquidy soup out of it. Then I'm going to put my onions in it, my breadcrumbs, put them in a coffee cup, because I don't have the little cups that they normally use in order to bake them in, but I'm going to use a coffee cup. And then I'm going to top them with fried onions and some vegan cheese. All right, as you can see, I just took a spoon and I just hulled the meat out of it, so it's clean. Probably those few sections on here that I could probably go back over. But you can also use these to make instead of using we make cream potatoes, you can actually use this meat and fix it just like you would cream potatoes. Put you some butter in it and a little bit of coconut milk, or whatever your preference is, vegan preference is as far as milk is concerned, and just make a creamed squash and eat that as a side dish. So that's very good also. All right, I'm getting ready to saute my onions and get it ready. All right, y'all. So I did decide to put just a little bit of vegan cheese in it. And I put my, put about a fourth of a pack of onion soup mix. And the only place I've been able to find the vegan version is at Food Lion. They have their brand is vegan, their onion soup mix. It's the dry soup mix. Now, if you're watching your sodium, again, I only use a small amount because it, of course, has, sodium in it, and I don't need the whole pack. So just kind of, use your own judgment. And with all the seasonings, the Mrs. Dash and the garlic powder, onion powder, I don't measure. I just continue to put it in until it tastes like I want it. So one of the things my grandma used to teach me is a good cook will use a teaspoon and taste along the way, just so it tastes like you want it. All right, so I'm gonna let that cook for a little while. You can see I've already added my onions, and what I'm gonna do is add my breadcrumbs in just a second. Put all this in a cup and my breadcrumbs. I'm gonna top it with some more onions and a little bit more vegan cheese, and we'll be ready to eat. All right, so this is my sauce that I'm getting ready to put on my breadcrumbs that I made. These are the breadcrumbs. I'm gonna go ahead and put the breadcrumbs in the cup first, as you can see. And I'm gonna let it sit for a minute, because you see how piping hot it is. And I had a ladle, but one of my kids broke my ladle, so it's all good though. This is my version of French onion. Now I got sauce everywhere, so I wipe that off. Just I just want you to see how I'm putting it together. Alright, so I'm gonna let that sit. Alright, I'm gonna put a little vegan cheese on top.